Hey everyone, Dan Gogler here, just doing my last mod, 14 case study for school law. So just kind of getting into the category one, identifying the problem and some of the analysis. I felt like the things that I knew that are kind of important here in this case was the fact that a teacher is claiming her life is threatened via a Facebook page. She believes is created by one of her students. A Facebook page was obviously made that had critical comments and material about Miss Tate. We know that from the study. We know that Miss Tate runs a classroom that creates some high tension and some stress, and that she's had problems before with parents and with students, and that Dr. Smith has actually tried to go in there and resolve some of that. And we know that Dr. Smith is a experienced, highly respected, and an awarded principal in his district. And we even know that Miss Tate is very well educated as well. So that's the big things that I feel like we know already going into the case. What we need to know, or what at least I feel we need to know, is the actual remarks that were on the Facebook page. We got some of the inferences of what might be on that page from the narrative, but we didn't get a lot of actual remarks other than the, who wants Miss Tate to disappear. But the rest of the page we don't know much about other than what we can infer from the interaction of Miss Tate and Dr. Smith. I feel like we need to know more of the Facebook page here, to be honest, and kind of what exactly it says. I feel like we need more information from the students, including William, that are going to come after some of the questioning that I'm sure Dr. Smith is going to be doing down the road. And we need to know where the website, I feel like, originated, whether they involves using technology or local police support, whoever it is, to kind of get that origination, especially if it's deemed very threatening. And that's something I think we need to know too. Going back to those, the fact of what are the actual remarks. I think that's a big factor here. The problem that I've identified is that a teacher in the district, in your district, basically feels unsafe and threatened by students, within her own district. I think that's the major problem here. There's some other underlying problems that I feel come up with Miss Tate's classroom environment, but I think the big problem in the actual case study is the fact that obviously the teacher feels unsafe and feels threatened by the students via this Facebook page that was created. So going into category two, my proposed plan of action with some of the strategies that we'd implement. I feel like starting off the plan of action, the first thing kind of got to figure out is are the threats really malicious? Are they really threatening? I don't feel like I know enough to know that. Like I said, other than the final remark and the final comment. But I think if Dr. Smith sees this as very malicious, very threatening, I think local authority needs to be involved as well, especially if somebody's life is actually threatened there. And I think that's a big question here when you're reading through the narrative. Is this a prank? Obviously, I think most of us probably say from what it sounded like, yes, it's probably just angry students that are trying to put something out there and try to get back at Miss Tate. But I think whenever you have a threatening, case like this towards a teacher, you have to take it seriously. And if he deems it that way, I think you'd have to get them involved. I think the students need to be interviewed and questioned to get more information. It sounds like he's going to do that. I think if nothing comes from basically the questioning, I think the source needs to be tracked via technology. And once again, a lot of this is pending how malicious and threatening Dr. Smith deems it. Obviously, like I said, if we deem this as a viable threat on the teacher, then there could also be some possible punishment forthcoming, suspension, expulsion. Obviously, threats of violence have to be taken serious. And then I think the big one that you got to wrap up with is there's got to be a continued plan of improvement for Miss Tate on creating a more comfortable learning environment. I know that it looks like Dr. Smith is already trying to help her in creating that better environment and a little bit lower anxiety, lower stress for the kids. But I feel like that has to continue and be a part of the plan of action, because that's to me, that's a big root and some of this that happened in terms of the behavior and the Facebook page itself. Not that that makes it right, but obviously as teachers we can do a lot to try to, you know, basically not create hostile environments that are going to lead to some of these behaviors, and that could help down the road for Ms. Tate and for Dr. Smith. I feel like the appropriate strategies are interviewing and questioning all the students that you feel could be useful in the case upon return to the school. Once again, I feel like an appropriate strategy is involving local authorities if that content is deemed violent, malicious, threatening. And like I said, to me, the way that last comment is worded, who would like to see Miss Tate disappear, doesn't honestly give me personally enough information to figure out how threatening it is, because I don't know the rest of the webpage. Because, you know, honestly, the way kids talk, it could just be a who wants to see her out of the classroom, who wants to see her leave the school, who wants to see her gone. I don't know 100% sure the way the narrative was worded, that was a threat of we're going to kill you. But then again, I don't know the rest of the page and what it said there. So that was just kind of my take on it. And once again, I think an appropriate strategy is a plan of improvement once this incident's resolved to keep Miss Tate, you know, continuing to aid her and creating a better learning environment. I think that probably includes a mentor teacher, and obviously some administration support and some follow-up down the road to help her out. Category 3 dealt with resolving the issues based on promoting the success of all students. And we're looking at what is best for students. I think number one, the administrator has to keep trying to ensure that the environment is safe for not only Ms. Tate but also all the students. So once again, if this threat is deemed incredibly malicious and violent, I think they need to take steps to make sure that all the students are safe. And what I mean by that is, obviously in today's day and age, we know students retaliate sometimes in very violent ways, coming back upon the school, even when they're just mad at one teacher. So I think that's something that needs to be handled in this. And once again, after the incident is resolved, the administrator, I think, needs to continue to create a good environment or a better classroom environment in Miss Tate's room herself, and trying to continue to make that better for students in terms of high anxiety and stress. Some of the data that I took from the case, these are just some of the quotes that I pulled directly out that I felt kind of led to some of these strategies and things like that, and kind of stuck out to me was when they talked about you know, Miss Tate herself kind of being very rigorous, very serious, and kind of creating that high level stress. I'm talking about that. Them talking about Dr. Smith receiving numerous phone calls from parents worried about this, and obviously it being a, you know, a district that is very prosperous and has a little bit of a higher wealth demographic. I could see where this would lead to some of these expectations, too high of expectations, being a very big deal for parents looking at colleges down the road for their students and stuff like that. I can see why it would be high stress, and obviously that kind of stood out to me. The fact when she talked about the web page, I pulled that data fact out. Suggestive comments, personal behavior, critical comments, and then obviously the who wants Miss Tate to disappear, I think, is a critical fact here that I pulled out to help me along. I pulled out the fact that they talked about a specific student, William Hall, in this, and Dr. Smith did kind of go in and say, you know, I'm going to go on to question him, but obviously kind of all of his background information that Miss Tate delivered, I think, was important in the case, because it's going to help us figure out who we should probably start with the questioning. And then the fact that he was going to print the hard copies, follow up in the morning, take the appropriate action there, you know, was kind of the last one. And even maybe getting the district technologist involved were some of the data facts that I pulled out that I felt were relevant in helping me come up with some of these strategies. Category 4 was debriefing the problem by kind of reflecting on what I was thinking, feeling, and valuing during basically this investigation, and then any unresolved issues at the end. Honestly, what I was thinking during the case and kind of reading through it is, number one, is the threat valid? Because obviously I think that's the most important and first thing you got to figure out. And I really don't know that with just what we have in the narrative, but that's the number one thing I think you got to figure out. In schools where you have any type of threats, and we get, unfortunately, in 2019, we get them, and we get them probably way more than we should. The number one thing you got to figure out is the threat valid, and then handle it from there. I think the other thing I was thinking was, is this William kid involved? And if not, who created this? I was also feeling bad for Miss Tate, being a teacher. I think she's, from what I'm reading, it seems like she's got a good heart. She's got the right motives in some ways. She just doesn't quite get it, in terms of how to create that environment for the students. And I think a lot of beginning teachers can struggle with that. Some get better, some never get better. Some just don't really get that I guess you could say teacher-student relationship that you build between your students. Some teachers really struggle with that. And I see Miss Tate struggling with that, so I feel for her. I feel for the students because I think, obviously, these are students, a lot of them that are probably performing at a high level, and they're put in a situation where they've never failed before, and now they're failing, and they don't know necessarily how to handle it. And you've got parents also that are looking at the future for their kids and saying, well, this one teacher is kind of ruining it. I feel for Dr. Smith. I think he's in a tough situation because, unfortunately, the classroom environment does sound like it creates a lot of problems for him. And then you've also got a situation here with the threat that you have to take seriously. Obviously, you don't just blow that off. I value during the situation the background information on Dr. Smith. Miss Tate gives us some insight. I took all the information that the narrative gave about the website itself, and the background on Miss Tate's classroom environment I felt was very important. And even the demographics of the community I valued because, if you know anything about demographic of very well off individuals, you know that expectations for the students can be sky high, and when that doesn't pan out, it can get kind of ugly down the road. The unresolved issues that I felt popped up here was the exact content of the website. We still don't know that. Who created the website and what was the actual intent? Was it just to make fun, or was this actually to, get Miss Tate harmed, and possibly get her, you know, an act of violence, even if that's killing her? Was that the intent, or was this just basically a prank that kind of was taken too far, and they just want to really mess with, Miss Tate here? Correcting Miss Tate's classroom environment is an unresolved issue that I think needs to continue, and then possible consequences for students that may be involved in this incident are all unresolved issues that go along with this. The last category was category 5, and it kind of looked at as an educational leader, how do we basically promote success of every student by acting with integrity, fairness, and in an ethical manner. I felt Dr. Smith, when we're looking at integrity here first, for the students, I feel like he's already worked to improve the environment for students in Miss Tate's classroom. You can tell that. He's tried to already make that a little bit better. I feel like he is going through a very fair process of questioning the students on the incident, printing out the material so that if anything gets deleted, he's got it there. And I feel like you already see integrity in the way he's handled conversations with parents and students about Miss Tate's expectations. And he hasn't thrown her under the bus, but he's tried to help her, yet also handle the parents, students, I feel like, with a lot of integrity. When I look at fairness, I feel like Dr. Smith is giving Williams and the other students the benefit of the doubt. He's obviously waiting for more information before just calling up the parents and saying, I can't believe what this student did, or don't come in on Monday. He's taking an action of, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna see what comes from it. Obviously, if you're recognized as Principal of the Year, I feel like that shows some fairness there. You're probably not acting in fairness to your students if you're recognized as Principal of the Year. And he's devoted himself to trying to hire highly qualified teacher candidates, trying to make an environment that's fair to all students and a great learning environment for all students. Obviously, this one hasn't panned out probably how he's envisioned it, but I feel like he tried to be as fair as possible by creating the best environment for the students there. And the last one, in an ethical manner, how did he actually do this? I feel like Dr. Smith regards the situation as obviously serious. He didn't blow it off. You know, he's determined to investigate the incident a little bit further, and basically get a root to this and resolve it. I feel like that obviously shows high ethics. He seems very professional when dealing with angry students and parents over Miss Tate's classroom. Once again, I think it would be very easy for him to overreact and possibly kind of say or handle it in a manner where some people would throw Miss Tate under the bus, but it seems like he is not. He's trying to continue to work with her while also fielding all these calls. And then I feel like he's using strategies to try and improve all struggling teachers in the district, probably because it showed that he's already tried to help Miss Tate. I'm sure she's not the only one. So I feel like he's a professional in the manner of he's going to respect his teachers, protect his teachers, yet also continue to try to improve them within his own district. So once again, that's just kind of my take on this case study. Thank you guys for listening. Being my last mod, thank you for all I've learned in the class, and I hope everybody enjoys their summer and has a great break. Thanks, guys.